if you have any questions on that, make sure and leave the comments below. This washer is going to be in there. Here is your nut. Here, I'm going to keep that all together. You do want that to go back in that same order there. Don't forget about your nut there. So got the centrifugal clutch off. Now you guys have all the right tools for this job. Next, to split this crankcase, we're going to remove the piston off of here. Our prop shaft we're going to disassemble. But first I need to remove all the 8mm bolts. There's also 12mm bolts, 2 in the back here, 1 up front here in front of the cylinder, 1 behind the cylinder, and then there's going to be 2 right here inside this crankcase cover. There's going to be 2 more 12mm bolts. The rest of those are going to be 8mm. I've got 13 8mm bolts is what I've counted. Let me know if that's different from what you've got. If you've got less bolts than that, I would definitely do a little more searching to make sure that you found them all. If you've got more bolts than that, let me know because I need to do a little more searching. So go ahead and pull those bolts. Now, what I like to do, obviously put these in bags or some sort of container when you're, so that when you're going back together, all those bolts are already organized. Now, if we're going right back together with it, what I'm going to do is do like I did for our centrifugal clutch housing. I'm just going to set those in order. So I'll maybe start in the back here, pull both of these, and then I'll just go all the way around in order. There's going to be several different sizes here. So we're going around the outside. There's going to be 1 down in there. Okay, that's all the outside ones. I'll also keep the wire clip on there. That kind of gives us an idea where those were at. Now we can finish them out and grab these in the middle. Now we've got our bolts completely lined up in order the exact way that they were taken off. I don't think we've missed any. All of them are in order. If you need to take a picture, you can. If you're not putting those back together right away, I would suggest labeling them somehow. I'm going to slide these aside so we can continue on with our crank. Our motor mounts here, you can pull these off if they haven't fallen off already. These are just rubber dampers here for your motor mounts. Those will come off when you're pounding on that motor anyways. So grab a rubber mallet or a dead blow hammer here, and now you can just take and tap on a couple different areas here. All right, if you've done that much tapping and nothing has moved, you've obviously missed a bolt or 2. Go back over, inspect everything, make sure that you found all the areas so that you're not damaging your transmission or your crank here by tapping on them. Now, if you have gotten all the bolts, your crankcase will start splitting apart, and that's been the case here with this one. It's going to start splitting apart. I like to grab in an area where you can hang on to it, and I like to hang on to the case, the front half, so that your back half can kind of keep sliding out. So once you've gotten that motor to a point where those gears are going to be going one direction or the other, you can kind of determine which way you want your crankcase there. Whatever side you are tapping on, if we're tapping that way on these 2 shafts here, more than likely this top case is just going to pull right off this direction here, and all your gears are going to stay down below there. So we're going to take now and get our fingers in behind there if we're able to do that, and just start prying that case open with our fingers. You don't want to stick a screwdriver or a pry bar in there, or you're going to damage some stuff. We're going to pry this up. I'm going to be very careful not to just pull all these gears up, because I don't want to lose the position that they were. So I'm going to slide it up very carefully, and now we know exactly where everything is. We've got minimal damage down in the bottom end as far as where these parts go. So we've got a shaft here. If you can see that in the camera view, this shaft is obviously going to be down like so. We have got a washer that I saw fell off some here. My guess is one side or the other, because this side has got a washer. Now both sides have a washer. So both sides of that gear have a washer. There's no other components down here that we dropped because of the way that we pulled that crankcase apart. We've got a balancer gear here and here. And this one actually has got a lip that's going to keep us from pulling that out. And this one I'm going to set with our balancer gears there. We've got our shift drum here. We've got our shift forks and shaft here. We can just pull that up slightly. That'll allow us to get this shift drum out of here. Okay, we can put our shift detent on the end of this. Be careful when tipping this upside down. There are 2 posts that are spring loaded that can give you a little grief if you are not hanging on to those. Slide that into position there. We can take and run that bolt in there. That'll just help us remember where some of these components go. Again, like I said, keep a thumb over top of those posts. Set that aside. Now we've got our shift forks that can now be pulled out. Those are out. It's going to be pretty obvious where those shift forks go on this gear set. So pull that off there. There is 2 grooves right here that are going to be where those shift forks go. So pretty easy as long as you know which direction those go in. And I set those in the direction that they come out. I'm going to set that all inside there so we know. Now this shaft is just going to pull out as well. Got to wiggle these back and forth sometimes, but that will just come right out of there. We got some liquid gasket there. Make sure going back together you utilize some liquid gasket. That shaft is out. We've got this bevel gear that I talked about earlier. Now we can go ahead and remove that nut there. We can then pull that gear off this way, push that shaft out this way. This screen here, you want to clean that out really good. Make sure there's no particles in that when you're going back together. You've got your output shaft here. This is going to your rear. This is going to your front. So the rear, we can actually just take and pick up on that. We've got a seal that's going to come out with it. We've also got a bearing here and here. To remove these gears, you need to remove that nut on the end there. I can tell you a size here in a second on that. All right, there is our rear output shaft. I'm going to set that aside. I'll give you a little more details on that here in a bit. I'm going to remove this idler gear. Keeping in mind we've got a washer down below there. Both sides of this gear look identical. I don't think it matters which direction goes in first. We've got our crankshaft now that we'll set this motor up, and we'll just tap the other side of the crankshaft out, and that'll push that crank out. And then our prop shaft, we'll get that removed as well.